Welcome to the talk about LGBTIQ activism in Belarus and about the campaign Superparents. I'm very happy to introduce Andrei Zavalei and Rusia Shuma, who I will introduce more in detail later on. But I suggest that we start by watching the video.
Maybe we give more time for people to come because they are late. Maybe we start a short introduction and then the video.
Okay, sure, yeah. Okay, so let me start by introducing Rusia. She is, as many of you might probably already know, the singer of the band Shuma and a vocal image maker. She's a vocalist in the genres of ethno jazz and electronica. She also works as a dubbing actress and a speech coach. And she will tell you a little bit more about the character of the band Shuma, which is not a commercial band project, but much more later on. And to her right is Andrei Zavalei, who is an LGBT activist from Belarus. And for the last 5 years, he has been involved in community building, increasing visibility and empowerment projects. And now he's mostly focused on raising awareness about homophobic and transphobic hate crimes. And the Delo P campaign against homophobia is dedicated to Michael Pischevsky, who has been beaten up to death after a gay party in Minsk in 2014. The campaign aims to influence public opinion and simultaneously to give power to the LGBTQI people in Belarus using the strategy of hate speech reappropriation to disarm haters. And I'm sure we will talk more about that strategy later on as well. I am Sonja Eismann. I have the pleasure to be hosting this talk. I am one of the founders and publishers of Missy magazine, a feminist magazine on pop culture based here in Berlin. Okay, so yeah. Should we watch the video and the presentation now?
So hello everybody, thank you so much for coming. It's a big pleasure to have possibility to share our local contact and the context, and experience what we have. And if to talk briefly about the Superparents movement, it's a very nice cooperation between the art sphere of Belarus, which is Shuma band. It's not exactly mass market, but it's more alternative. And it between LGBT activism. And for Belarus, I would say it's still a huge issue because people are not willing, not only openly to come out, because you will definitely meet some kind of issues. And at the same time, it's not so easy to openly support LGBTQI people because then, as well, you will have some unpleasant conversations, and for your reputation, it's still. So we are we live in the absence of public. Public figures are ignoring mostly the topic of.
But at least you have already the one.
So this is I would say one of the most public and successful examples for Belarus of cooperation between activism and culture. And maybe not to talk about the sport, you will just see how it developed, but it's based on the real story of a transgender girl from Minsk, and it's based on her,
And I should say a little bit, hello everyone. We're very glad to be here at the festival and to participate in this talk. It's very important for us, and thank you for joining us. I just wanted to tell a little bit more about the song. I am focused on the research of female singing culture of pagan tribes which were living at the territory of Belarus before Christianity came. And this culture is really feministic. It's full of stories about the woman who doesn't want to get married to, she wants to stay, free and independent and so on. And last year, my band, Shuma, was participating in Eurovision contest. I should underline that we are the very independent, self-made underground project. We're doing electronic music, which is mixed with pagan ritual songs of females, of women. And this very song, she was participating in Eurovision, and the story was about the mother and her daughter. And mother doesn't allow daughter to decide with whom she wants to be in love. And she says, like, you are a little girl, come back to the home, your mother is calling you. And the girl is answering her, like, I have the right to love whom I want. You won't forbid me to choose my love. And this song is very ancient. And can you imagine that this pattern of separation between a child and the parent, which doesn't support and accept the child's choice, this pattern still exists in modern times. And it's very interesting how this cooperation has happened between the ancient folklore song and the nowadays situation of this transgender girl, Valeria. So let's have a look at the video and enjoy.
Just one question before we get to the video. When you say you're researching these ancient song structures and traditions, do you go about this academically, like a music ethnologist? Or
yes, I go to villages. I spend a lot of time with old ladies, and we are talking, and I'm gathering the songs. Unfortunately, the singing culture is dying at the moment. Just, 20 ladies around the whole countries are still keeping this tradition. This tradition is disappearing, and some of the ritual songs are covered by the UNESCO Heritage Foundation, because this culture is really unique. And our aim to promote this culture through the electronic music, just to prolong the life of this root element. It's really magic.
Do you get any kind of public funding for this? Because we talked before a little bit, and you said that it's really difficult for like non-mainstream acts to get any kind of
No, we are not
money.
having any financial support from the government like it's done in Switzerland, for example. I work here as ethno-jazz vocalist as well, and here the culture is just blossoming. In our country, we have to, I would say, fight for every concert. Not because of political reasons, mostly because of economic. And so, yes, we're independent, and we are all people who are in this Shuma little movement. We all are having the usual jobs, like I'm overvoicing movies, someone is going to the office and so on. But we take the salaries, cut a little bit, and put it into the project, just to keep it alive.
Wow. Okay, now let's watch the video, and then maybe you can talk about the song structure a little bit more, if there are like traditional elements, and we'll talk more about the activist part of the video. So, yeah. Okay, Andrei, do you want to show the pictures now? Andrei has
slowly during the talk.
Okay, because Andrei has prepared. Yeah, okay, a little presentation of pictures. But what I wanted to ask you first, the story as it is told in the video, is that the true story, or is just the person of Valeria the kind of the inspiration for the video?
Yeah, so it's exactly the same question which I addressed to her after the music video was produced, and she said, like, of course, it's an artistic interpretation, but she was very touched by it, and like the result, her soul reacts a lot to this, so she is very much satisfied with the result. And in the end, the last scene is exactly the Valeria, the person.
Yes, the person at the end when the mother in the hospital, she is doing the operation to change the sex of the person. Yes, gender correction. Yes, thank you. And she realized that this is her son. And in the next scene, she is meeting the girl already in the house, and she accepts her daughter in the way she is.
Yeah, and of course the big piece of like this distance between being very much angry and not accepting your child and the happy end. Of course, it's a quite big period of time, but here it's it's an artistic end.
Yes, and the same it was in the life of Valeria. When she had met a lot of aggression from the side of her father, and for mother it's quite difficult to accept her. That's why we decided to open this campaign, Superparents, and to get focused on the parents of LGBTI people, because parenthood is the very beginning we are growing from, right? And Andrei and his partners, the activists, are trying to work with the parents. For example, they can find the free psychologist consultation, how to discuss with your son if you found a lipstick around his stuff, or you saw your daughter is kissing another girl, something like that. Because in our country, people are quite shy in general.
Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about the legal and social situation? Because homosexuality is not illegal. In some countries it is, but is very much frowned upon. I read that in a 2002 survey, I think 47% of Belarusians said that homosexuals should be locked up. So there's a quite hostile environment, and there's no same-sex marriage, right?
So in the list of LGBTQI equality in Europe, it's the 48. It's like in the last top 5. But at the same time, it's not so straightforward. It's not so easy because the different layers of society, it's very complex. Complicity is very interesting because, for instance, if we to talk about gender recognition of transgender people, it's actually quite progressive. I mean, even in comparisons with some European countries, like we never, the rules, the regulations never demanded for what's called sterilization, yes, and it's completely free procedure. Free of charge. You don't pay. And of course, it's very tricky because their attitude, the medical structures, medical Ministry of Health, blah, 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 they recognize it as a disease, and they kind of cure people. That is their perception.
Now you have to have a diagnosis? You have to
and actually now it's very interesting because the Register of Diseases, just 2 months ago, there is no longer such a disease as transsexualism, and for our medical care system, it will be a very interesting moment. Like, we cannot no longer treat it as a disease, and what will be the next step? Yeah, it's very tricky.
Do you know? But we still have in Minsk, we still have psychotherapists who are curing gay people.
It's called
conversion therapy.
Yeah, it's actually again Belarus. It's less dangerous and less terrible as you can imagine, because even if to talk about some kind of organized groups who can provide your services of changing your sexual orientation, it's very, very, it's not mainstream at all. And the religion influence is very low because our authorities, they want to have control over the society, and religious, like the churches, they will maybe make some difficulties, and that's why they try to push them down. So, and at the same time, the average level of hatred, it's quite, I mean, it's middle. It's not so aggressive. It's not, yes, of course, people don't like you and they will watch at you very strange, but they will not openly attack you. But of course, unfortunately, sometimes it happens. And exactly Michael Pischevsky, in memory of whom we started 3 years ago the campaign, his case was completely ignored. I mean, the homophobic motive of the perpetrator was completely ignored by the judge. And it was like a normal hooliganism situation, like you just beat other guy because you don't like him, but nobody cares why. Like they are not interested in focusing on this motive. And for 25 years of history of Belarus, it was only one criminal case who was identified as a hate crime, homophobic hate crime. Can you imagine? It's really like, yeah, that's why it's very important not to dramatize, to say, oh, it's a homophobic hell. No, it's not. It's quite proper. You can live proper life. Of course, if you are not promoting, if you are not fighting for human rights, you will really maybe feel no such a stress, not so many cases of discrimination, because and at the same time, if you say it's so cool, then you will lose your mind. So it's always about balance and being fair to yourself, like what is really happening, and to get rid of these stereotypes. So like, it's impossible to be gay in Belarus and blah, blah, blah. We can organize a lot of nice events. There is a nice community. Everything goes smoothly. Like a lot of events happening, and people are basically trying to deal with the reality, and they are not offended. I mean, we are not offended. We're just trying to live our life and to find the possibilities how we can promote our values. And this is, again, exactly about this. Like, I'm being an activist, I constantly try to find the bridges between social topics and business, between social topics and art and media. And it's very, I mean, my perception and my attitude is very positive, because even if to speak about the campaign, Delo Pischevsky, we shown film. It's called Matt Shepard is a friend of mine. It's about Matthew Shepard, one of the most dramatic hate crimes cases in the United States, and we showed it in the normal governmental cinema. And the director of the cinema, after this is normal regulation to have a commission who will then allow to watch it after 16 years old or 18 years old. So it was 16 years old, and she was like so shocked, very sincere. She said, like, I didn't know that homophobia can cause such kind of crimes. And so yeah. And it was shown with a full house and in the center in the downtown of Minsk.
Okay. And Rusia, what would you say, how has your decision to position yourself as a pro-queer rights band influenced like how the public perceives you, how your career? You said that when you entered the national competition for the Eurovision Song Contest, that you landed on the 3rd place, but the public who could phone in voted for you. So you seem to be quite popular with the public. So do you think it has boosted your image, or did you get a lot of criticism for speaking out?
For LGBTI, I don't feel so much pressure, but some part of the audience, which is rather conservative, went away, but it gave the space for the newcomers who are sharing with us the same values, of course. And what concerns this video, I was trying to find a video production in Belarus. I was talking to 3 companies. No one wanted to work over this video when they saw this scenery because of the plot of the story. That's why we made this video at the Ukraine, at the neighbor country. Yeah. So this is the illustration how it works with society. I don't feel that my music career is boosted or something like that. I feel myself, more brave, more open, because I'm a fresh mom. I have a little child, and I don't know what kind of choices she will do in her life. And when I was a child, a teenager, I was pressed by bully teenagers because I was a little bit not like them. I mean, in behavior, in thoughts, in my attitude to life and values, and I know how it's difficult to live under this bullying pressure. And I really don't want this shit to exist. And now I have quite a media power in Belarus. I communicate to quite a wide audience, and I want to use this moment to communicate with people.
And how has the feedback to the video been so far? Did you get lots of reactions from people you know or from media outlets? Was that present, or was it more of an underground
We were
thing?
trying to work with the state media, the most influential, but they refused because of the topic of the video as well. That's why we attacked the internet mostly with advertising on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And we had...
State media is like 90% of the media? Or?
Yeah, the audience is mostly covered by state TV and, of course, by Russian TV. So it's like very clear values. And homo propaganda law is not existing in Belarus, but still a lot of people think it exists because they watch Russian TV. It's incredible. And I just wanted to say that it's also very tricky because, for instance, Facebook advertisement, they declined our video because it contained, inside there is a violence scene. So kind of...
fighting against...
It's two streams, like neoliberal establishment who do not allow to do specific things. And then, on the other hand, it's our state authorities and cultural paradigms and so on and so forth. And here we can see a picture. And it's very touching. I mean, the topic of motherhood, the topic of parenthood, it's I think it's one of the most huge potential. It's such a great amount of energy. And again, mothers, mostly mothers, of course, of LGBTQI people in Belarus, they are very much fragile and vulnerable because they have nothing, they have no, this safe space, no support, and they have nobody to talk to. And our main goal is to show more examples of acceptance. And here you can see the joint meeting of Ukrainian and Belarusian parents.
And I have a question, did they get together through your campaign, or did they already have...
No, we supported the structures that are already present, and we want to empower them and to support them. And so kind of it's very nice as how it's called, interaction, because at the same time, so it's also very important to mention that the production of the video was supported by Wolfgang Simmons from the foundation Big Green Bridges.
And I think there's also a representative of Big Green Bridges here. Hello, thanks for coming. Yeah, so that was obviously a big push because financing would have been a problem, right?
And it's so nice that we can show the video in Berlin, and I'm so much inspired by this experience exchange, not to reproduce stereotypes, but to try to really between bridges. It's exactly like to create new potential of experience and exchange.
And I have a question about the video. Why did you choose to focus on the history of a trans woman. You could have shown like a lesbian girl or two boys in love. So how did that come about? Because there's even more hostility towards trans persons, or because you knew Valeria? What was like?
So it's also very interesting because when Rusia addressed me that she wanted to produce a very empowermental video about some strong Belarusian woman, and just in my informational discourse field, I just recently saw this very nice article about Valeria, and I know her in person, and I said, you know what, the strong woman I know. And it's like we are very flexible, and it felt very natural and
like it has to be happen. Yes, I was asking my friends on Facebook, maybe you can give me please some stories of really brave Belarusian females. And I've got one of the story.
And it's also very interesting that actually lesbian and bisexual women are the less actually represented group at the moment. And actually, yeah, now it's a little bit about Delo campaign because we organized another flash mob. It's basically what we do is flash mobs and campaigns. I like it. It's constant PR thinking strategy. It's interesting. So because of this underrepresentation of women, and especially LGBTQ women, we launched a questionnaire, like a research, and 300 women took part in this research. And as the result, we produced another very nice empowermental video. And now it's more about lesbian women and bisexual. But at the same time, somehow transgender women have more they are present in public discourse more than lesbian and bisexual. So it's very, very interesting, like how to give voices to the less privileged part of society. Yeah.
Coming back to the music aspect of the video, did you do research for the vocal parts as well? So where do they have a history? Where do they come in? What do you sing about in the song?
Yes, I do researches. I go to ethnographical expeditions to villages, and I have the libraries of researchers who were working in 70s and 80s. At the moment, it's very difficult to find something really new. I have to take the songs from the library from another researchers, and it's not so easy because they know my position, and for many of them, you should understand that they're persons of post-Soviet and Soviet era, and for them it's quite difficult to accept my popular approach, like to take the ancient culture, to take it out from the museum and bring it to raves, to huge clubs. It's kind of stress for them, and LGBTI topic also doesn't give a lot of success in that, but fortunately there are many wise people who understand what we are doing, who are sharing our values with us. So I still have some green light to the libraries. Yeah, that's the way how I get the songs. I save the dialects and the melody. I do not touch any note as in general. What I'm doing, I'm just changing the manner of the vocal, because, for example, in reality, this song sounds like, would you like to hear? It's like, and so on. But it's quite difficult to sing this kind of stuff in clubs. Yeah, people, whoa, what's going on? That's why I changed the vocal manner. Ішли хмаркі, юдери парки, однако пошла грозной. So the melody is the same. And what I really like in this project, that when people are going to raves and festivals, they are singing with us. And when these people go back to the house, taking a shower or making a coffee, they begin to sing. And automatically this person becomes the carrier of the
disappearing tradition. That's how we put the root culture into the nowadays people.
Wow, that's a cool move. And unfortunately, our time is almost up, but I wanted to come back to something that I touched upon in your introduction, because you say that you're using the strategy of hate speech reappropriation to disarm haters, and that's something that's not only relevant to Belarus, of course, but to everywhere, to here as well. But there's also a lot of hate speech against like minorities. So how does that work? Tell us.
Yeah, of course, it's a topic for a specific conversation, but I will try to briefly introduce this idea. Of course, I did not invented any bicycle. It's a very normal idea of queer identity, and so queer theory actually was using the same mechanism of reappropriating hate speech, because queer, initially it was a very erogative word, obviously. I mean, maybe for me it's obvious now, because I try to go deeper and to understand how it works. And actually it's very interesting, like every single country has its own words. But for some reason, it's a very complicated topic of post-colonial world, like this globalization and export of values, export of contexts. It really bothers me, and at some point actually, so in Russian and in Belarusian, and it's pidor, and pidar is, if you translate it to English, it's faggot, and I think it's shule. I mean, yes, it is. And actually, exactly this word was the last word that Michael Pischevsky heard in his life. So he was exactly beaten because he was leaving the gay club, and some guys in front of club, they were shouting at him like, "Oh, Peter, Peter," and he was they do it often, quite often. I don't know. I mean, not so often, but sometimes it happens. And he was the only one who tried to protect his dignity. He was not trying to run away and to ignore what happening. And he openly addressed them like, "What the hell are you talking about? Why?" And it was one kick, and that's it. And it was for me a very important signal. Like, if a person can be murdered for one single word, I should still start to do something about it. And as I have a lot of knowledge about how it all was developed and the history of LGBTQI movement, I now can see the very strange contradictions nowadays, what is happening. Like, again, neoliberal establishment, they put a lot of efforts and they invest a lot of money, they fund a lot of projects against hate speech. But at least in my context, it doesn't work, because you can, as long as you want, try to persuade haters to stop to hate you, but basically you can reach only some neutral people or some allies who are already supporting you. Like, it's a bubble, it's a Facebook bubble. You can reach only your people who already acknowledge something. So, and the only way, and how I can feel it at the moment, to reach other audiences is to use the words which people can understand. And if you say I'm queer, and in Belarus it's like, and what? Like, there is no historical development of the word. So it basically, 2 years ago I wrote a manifesto. It's like reproducing or working with Queer Nation manifesto and Gay Liberation Front. I kind of mixed it, and then I used a personal story inside. So it's not a collective manifesto, but it's a single person, because nobody ever before publicly called himself Peter in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. So I was really the only one. That's why it's not yet collective, but of course I hope in a few years it will become, the next edition will be not Pidor as a singular, but Pidors as a multiple. And at the same time, this word is very patriarchal. It's only a masculative form. And it's very interesting that already now we have very nice signals from the feminist movement and feminist lesbian, bisexual women who adopted this word and use it as a feminative. So pidorka in Russian, it's when you add, so it's, we cannot make it gender neutral because our language is not at all, but we can use feminatives and it's already working. It's incredible.
Wow. Thank you for this insight. And now our time is up, but maybe there is room for one last question from the audience. Do you have any kind of question for Rusia and Andrei? Everyone's just overwhelmed. Okay, I have one last question. I mean, since you're now here in Berlin and showing the video, which has already won quite a few awards, so it's not just like a video activism video, which it also is, but it's also like a film about the experiences of a trans woman. So what do you wish for with this video, with the campaign, and also with the video traveling, with you traveling? Where do you think change will come from? Do you think it must come out of your own communities, out of your own country, or do you need international allies, or both? So what are you wishing for the future?
I wish both. What do you wish?
Yeah, of course, it's again about balance, because sometimes when I visit some conferences and some international events, and this question like, how can we help you? It's really tricky, because you can just maybe pay more attention to what is happening in my country and just to have a horizontal dialogue and really to be interested, curious. It's the only thing you can do. But at the same time, of course, as we are such isolated, we have no public funding, and it's very not so easy really to fundraise for activities for activism. But I would say at the moment it really starts slowly to grow as a movement, because we will have another project next year with the Ukrainian organization, and this movement, we really want to make it a local international movement, because it's very hard even to transmit, really to share the experience from the United Kingdom to Belarus, because it's completely different. And if we try to organize in our region, it's much better, because we can more easy understand each other. So Superparents campaign, I would like it to be a local movement, but with of course, with the presence of our good friends across the world. And it's exactly about being having a space to be and to stay authentic and genuine, and at the same time be respected. And this is how I feel, how I understand partnership. Like it's being equals, and I think it's possible.
For me, it's also both. From one side, I would love to keep Belarusian audience more into this topic and to pay more attention to this problem. And on the other hand, I want to get the attention of international community, because when, for example, parents of LGBTI children will see the positive response from mothers all over the world, it will be great support. By the way, if you have any story about acceptance by the parents, share it with us with the hashtag Superparents on Facebook or in Instagram, right?
Yeah, and it's an ongoing process, because you should never be in a rush, in a hurry, because not a single structure grows fast. And it's step by step. We grow as a movement and as a maybe. So actually, a very nice milestone for me would be the establishment of parents' organization in Belarus, because it's a very interesting fact. Belarus is the only country in Vetsy region without Eastern Europe and Central Asia without officially recognized LGBT organizations. Last attempt, it was in 2013, and it was declined, and then the people who wanted to organize, they went to the court, and the Supreme Court rejected. Like there is no such topic, there is no such an issue for our society. In the constitution, all of us are equal, so yeah. And actually, parents' movement is not so dangerous for this paradigm of patriarchal post-Soviet society. And actually, it's a nice way to organize. So we support parents, and parents support us. Yeah, it's very simple, right?
A good strategy, I should say.
Self-sustainable, I would say.
So yeah, let's hope that it will grow, and yeah, everybody here spread the word, spread the video, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rusia and Andrei.